I think it
Got
was
it.
just slow. That was scary. All right. Hey, everyone. Thank goodness technology is working. Hey, everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. My guests today are two doctors that are also married to each other. Their names are Dr. Bandana and Munish Chawla. They're from Houston. They are lifestyle medicine doctors, and they're here to talk a little bit about what they do and why they do it. Please welcome them to the show. That was a close call. I'm so happy to see you guys. Well, that is amazing that you guys are on the same page, first of all.
Yeah, well, no, we weren't always, right? The first 15 years of our marriage, I was a vegetarian and he was an omnivore. Oh, he is very militant plant-based, maybe even more than me.
Well, tell us the story. Tell us your story about, first of all, going plant-based and then getting interested in lifestyle medicine.
Do you want me to start since I
Sure.
kind of
Well, you started it. You did the diet first, so
I did, yes. So I like to say that you hear about people healthier because their doctor had a talk with them. In my case, the doctor became vegan because my patients had a talk with me. So basically, the end of 2012, the universe just kept sending me vegan and plant-based patients. And they're not shy about educating you, and they shouldn't be, in terms of the benefits and how they're feeling better. And I was seeing that their cholesterol was coming down, their weight was coming down. I was reducing their medications. But we don't like to change. So my attitude initially was, oh, good for you, good for them. I don't have those medical problems, so I don't need to change my diet, right? But the more it kept happening, the more we started doing some research, the more it was clear that I needed to teach this to my other patients. And I can't do that unless I practice it myself. So I can't preach something that I don't practice. So February 1st, 2013, Munish and I both became vegan. And then a couple of years after that, whole food plant-based.
That's fantastic. When are you both practicing physicians in Houston right now? And are you taking patients? And if so, is it virtual? Is it in person if people want to connect with you?
Yeah, so we have sort of a hybrid clinic. So we have an internal medicine clinic because my wife is board certified in internal medicine and lifestyle medicine. And in my previous life, I used to be a radiologist. So slowly, I've been kind of transitioning towards lifestyle medicine. And in August of 2019, does that sound right? We opened our new clinic, Lifestyle Docs, and we practice in the Houston area. So, Bandana's practices more internal medicine with a flair of lifestyle medicine, where I am just doing exclusively lifestyle medicine. So if someone wants to really, lose weight and keep it off, reverse diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, even autoimmune diseases, we really kind of give them an immersion, into this healthy diet and lifestyle.
That's fantastic. I love it. I love it. How is the plant-based scene in Houston? Is it thriving?
It's definitely getting much better. We're still land and in Texas, but the number of, at least the vegan restaurants, has really gone up. In terms of having it be plant-based to where it's no oil, that's a little bit harder eating out, but there are a few restaurants, including a really nice Ethiopian restaurant close to us, where if you ask for the vegetarian platter without oil, they'll make it for you.
That's fantastic. And before we logged on, you said there's quite a few plant-based doctors also there.
Yeah, so we have, Munish, you want to name some?
Yeah, we can. So, we've got Dr. Garth Davis is here, Dr. Baxter Montgomery is here, Mary Washington, she's a nephrologist. I guess I'm assuming everybody on your call knows Dr. Baxter Montgomery. He's a renowned cardiologist. Garth Davis is a weight loss surgeon. And Dorothy Cerna, she is internal medicine or family practice?
She's internal medicine and lifestyle medicine.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. As a radiologist, I'm thinking when you were a radiologist, you only see a patient usually once. So that particular specialty doesn't seem to lend itself to a lot of lifestyle education, does it?
It doesn't. But we see all of these sort of effects. Patient comes in for a reflux, and we do an upper GI series on them, and you kind of chat with them briefly. And a lot of these patients, especially when you have a little bit extra weight, you get irritable bowel, reflux. So all these things are connected. And when I'm looking at an ultrasound, 20 years ago, hardly ever would I see an ultrasound where there's some fatty infiltration in the liver. And back then we would just sort of assume that it was alcohol. Over the years, I see more and more patients with fatty infiltration of liver. And it's not the alcohol, it's the diet. And as we, more and more, we're seeing more and more patients with fatty infiltration. And now, that's just we don't even consider alcohol. We just, now it's, you corroborated with clinically with liver function tests and all that. And almost always it turns out to be obesity or the unhealthy standard American diet.
Yeah, absolutely. Sharon, who's watching live, says, Dr. Bandana is my doctor.
Hi, Sharon.
That's so cool. You've got your patients watching. That is amazing. You guys do, I was researching you a little bit, and do you guys, I don't know if you still do it, but I saw the walk with the doc.
Yeah, so basically what we notice is the patients, even the ones who want to do it, who have already like read your book and, have watched several podcasts, they watched What the Health, Forks Over Knives, they know they want to do this, yet it's still hard. They kind of need that extra support. And that's why a big part of our clinic is providing that support. So we do like first and third Saturday of the month, we have free meditation and yoga at the clinic. Second Saturday, we have walk with the doc. Once a month, we do a plant-based potluck at the clinic. So that community really makes a difference, because it's not just support from us, but also support from each other that really, really helps them progress further on this path.
That's so cool. I would love to have a doctor, or I could do a potluck once a month.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, good for us too, not only, do patients enjoy it, but we get to try, 20, 30 different plant-based dishes, every month, and kind of gives us, a little more variety. And I think it's really helps the patients when they're first starting. One of the things they're always complaining about is, what do I eat? If I don't eat my usual, burger and fries and tacos and things, what do I eat? So when they come to the potluck, they get exposed to 20, 30 different plant-based dishes. And we ask people, don't put any oil, keep it low salt, no sugar. And they see they have so many options, and all this food looks good and tastes good, and they have, nice company on top of that. That has really helped a lot of our patients kind of move forward.
Do you offer any type of cooking instruction when you're asking them to change their diet?
Yes, we offer cooking classes as well. So usually there are 1 to 2 cooking classes a month. For patients who are doing the lifestyle medicine program with Munish, they also have twice a month group support sessions. So all of that.
We're fortunate. We have, I think, 3 Food for Life instructors that we are affiliated with. So they know how to cook, oil-free. And, some of them will even make the classes available for free for the entire community. Mm-hmm. So really have, we have really good support in terms of plant-based ecosystem. We've got cooking teachers, yoga teachers, everyone eating healthy, moving healthy, just kind of bringing everybody along to this healthier diet and lifestyle.
Great. You have so many fans watching. Listen to what they're saying. Well, other than Sharon, who says you're her doctor, I saw a nice comment. I'll find it. There also are some questions. I'm a lifestyle. Oh, a lot of lifestyle docs is the name of your practice. And Bernadette says she's a patient too. You must have told everybody you're going to be on.
We did.
And Mary's there. And Healthy Lifestyle Solution says, Drs. Chawla, my favorite plant-based couple. Oh, here. So here's some questions because you did bring up fatty liver. And I don't know if you read the research that PCRM did, Dr. Hanna Kalyova, where they actually did a study and they actually found that they could reverse it with a whole food, plant-based diet. And Jean Marie says, what are the steps to first changing a fatty liver?
Do you want me to take it?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so no, I've reversed it and I've seen it reversed in so many patients. Fatty liver is one of the easiest things to reverse with diet. And just moving towards a whole food plant-based diet. I've had patients who didn't even become 100% plant-based. They just became more plant forward to where they really reduce their animal foods and processed foods and really increase their whole plant foods. And we recheck the liver function test, and in 3 months, the fatty liver's gone. And probably in ultrasound too, do you see it? Definitely in blood work, I see the liver test go back to normal.
Yeah, so I mean, as Dr. B mentioned, that what the corollary for the ultrasound showing fatty infiltration, it shows increased echogenicity. That probably doesn't mean anything to anybody. But this corollary from a clinical standpoint is you see the patient's liver function tests increasing. So as the liver function tests are slowly decreasing as they change their diet, and if they get a follow-up ultrasound, we're able to document that or see that in ultrasound also. But most of the times, when the patient gets normal liver function tests, the doctors are not going to be ordering the ultrasound again for that reason. So we see them infrequently. We see it because, patient had some other issues, and then we look at the previous ultrasound and we notice, okay, either the fatty infiltration in some cases has gotten worse, and in some cases, with change in diet, especially a low fat, really want to emphasize, you want to do whole plant foods, but also low fat, really the diet Chef AJ recommends. And you really see remarkable changes in as little as 3 months.
Yeah, I like that you said low fat, because if there's ever a source of contention in the plant-based world, that's always that, it seems.
Right. And, this is something people are asking me this all the time. If you are 32 and healthy and normal body weight, and, you've been athletic and you exercise and you eat a whole food plant-based diet, I'm not going to ask you to, limit your avocado or even, pay too much attention to the nuts. But when we have a disease, when we are, overweight or obese, or you have diabetes, then, just going to a whole plant foods diet is not enough. You've got to go to a low fat whole plant foods diet. And, there's so many issues in terms of obesity that Chef AJ talks all the time about addiction. When you get these nuts back into your diet, you say, I'm just going to have a little bit, but it never works out that way. So really, I want to emphasize that if you want to reverse fatty infiltration of liver, it has to be a low fat, whole foods, plant-based diet.
Did either of you have any health issues before going fully plant-based, or did you even notice any difference in yourself, the way you felt or looked?
Yeah, so I had migraines. I used to be on Imitrex, and I had allergies. I used to be on Flonase and Zyrtec, and then hypothyroidism. I used to be on Synthroid. So went from vegetarian to vegan. That basically took care of migraines. I haven't had a migraine in the last 9 years. So it must have been the hormones in the dairy. So that pretty quickly. Allergies, it took a little while longer to get off of Flonase and Zyrtec. Synthroid, I didn't think I would get off of, right? That's, my mom has hypothyroidism, my sister, my maternal cousins, my maternal aunts, it's genetic. I'm not going to get off of that until I started seeing some of my patients get off of it. And then my husband does disease reversal programs for, and so I said to him, I'm going to do your disease reversal program. And so I did. Actually, I haven't been on Synthroid since August of 2020. And yeah, if I didn't go through it myself, I probably wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And in terms of just feeling better and looking better and having more energy. Yeah.
That's great. What about you, Doctor?
I didn't have any, significant medical issues, but, just having more energy. Also, I guess, seasonal allergies and hay fever. I was on, Flonase, nasal steroid, taking Claritin for seasonal allergies. And now, to be completely honest, my allergies haven't gone away completely, but I am not taking any medication, and they're better now without medication than I was a couple of years ago, I guess 3-4 years ago with medication. So, really, it's just, the more energy and just clearer mind, just not so lethargic. So that would be the main things for me.
Nice. Who does the cooking in your family?
Mainly me. He cooked for Mother's Day.
What did you make her for Mother's Day? That's wonderful.
Yeah, so this is, I should do it more often, but, I make Chinese food. So typically, if it's Chinese food or Italian food, I'll make that, and Bandana makes the traditional Indian food, which we have much more often. So at least every Mother's Day, I make Chinese food, for her, for my mom, her mom, and her mom used to live in Dallas, but they have moved into the Houston area. So we had a nice gathering with my mom and her mom. And so it was a really enjoyable time.
Nice, nice.
And it was made without any oil. So just you can make Chinese food stir fry without any oil. I probably don't need to say that to Chef AJ's folks, but just to emphasize that.
It's so incredible. I recently moved. It's actually been 1 week exactly from the desert near Palm Springs to Lincoln, California, which is a suburb of Sacramento. And I was just driving to an appointment and I see the sign vegan restaurant, and it wasn't mealtime. I go, I'll stop by, I'll get a menu. And they had this huge thing on the wall, oil-free menu. It was an Asian restaurant. And I'm like, wow, jackpot,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That was so cool. So here's a question from a live viewer named Elizabeth. She says, I was always thin and now I'm not. So some advice would help. After menopause, I've gained weight and I can't seem to shift it. I know my metabolism has changed. How can I get the weight off again? I lost all my weight in my 50s and I was hypothyroid. So I think she can do it with the right advice.
Yeah, it does make it a little more challenging though, because I'm going through menopause right now, and I have noticed a difference in metabolism. One of the things that has helped some of my patients, and something I may try myself, is doing a little bit of a reset by doing maybe water fasting or raw detox or something like that to kind of reset things. What advice do you give your patients, Manish?
Yeah, and a little bit of that, some intermittent fasting, but sort of the underlying foundation has to be, change in the diet. So I don't know what Elizabeth is eating right now, but as we've been kind of mentioning previously, that we want to move to a low-fat, whole foods, plant-based diet. And sometimes that's easier said than done, and take it slow. So sometimes we kind of jump in and we're just kind of all in for 10 days, 2 weeks, and we're doing really well, and then we see a cookie go by and then we're kind of back to square one. So the advice I give my patients, okay, be intentional, but be kind to yourself, be slow, but really, without getting into more specifics, we want to reduce the amount of fat in the diet, and also this goes without saying, but no animal products, and really, really trying to get away from processed foods. So as you're doing that, you're automatically getting to a lower fat and healthier with more micronutrients. Your body gets nourished more. You're not eating because your body's starving for nutrients. So, that kind of takes away that part of it. And again, just sort of transitioning slowly and moving to whole plant foods.
I was going to add one thing in terms of menopause. Some of the weight, because, lifestyle medicine, there's so many other components besides nutrition in terms of exercise, stress management, sleep, healthy relationships, avoidance of tobacco and alcohol. But sleep, for me, with menopause has been affected. So when you're not sleeping well, you're also going to gain weight. And hot flashes has been an issue. And recently, PCRM data and other data has shown adding soy in its unprocessed form, like edamame, can be very beneficial for menopause-related hot flashes. So I have started adding on edamame to my diet to see, and I think it has helped actually in terms of hot flashes at night and better sleep at night. So that's something else you can try.
And to
Great.
kind of follow up on what Bandana mentioned, sleep is so important for overall health. So when you get a good night's sleep, you're lowering your stress hormones, you're cleaning the body, you're reducing inflammation. So all these are going to be your friend when you're trying to lose weight.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So here's a question from Kathy. As a lifestyle medical doctor, what's a typical patient appointment like, and what diagnostic tools do you lean towards?
So I'll let Bandana start, and then I can kind of go over the intensive portion.
Yeah, so basically I've been board certified in internal medicine for over 20 years. So I'm still practicing that. So we're still getting the basic vital signs in terms of weight and blood pressure and stuff. But then we're also getting what we call lifestyle medicine vital signs, to where we're asking them what their nutrition is like. Are they on a standard American diet or a vegetarian diet or a whole food plant-based diet? We're also asking them where they are in terms of their exercise. So whether they're sedentary or exercising 150 minutes a week or also doing strength training. We're also asking them questions about their stress management and their sleep. So on the intake form, on the same form that's saying, have you seen any doctor since you last saw us, or is your insurance still the same? It's also asking them these lifestyle medicine vital signs. So it's a primary care appointment. We still do pap smears, blood draws, EKGs, all of that stuff. But we also talk about using lifestyle medicine as a therapeutic tool. So if the cholesterol is high, yes, we can go to a statin, and I'm perfectly capable of writing those prescriptions. But where I was not taught in medical school, she offered lifestyle medicine as a therapeutic option also. I now offer that option, to where I tell them, I work with you in terms of helping you change your diet and lifestyle so you can bring your cholesterol down that way. Or if sometimes, depending on what's going on in their life and they're not able to work on those changes and they just want prescriptions for things, then we do that as well. So basically, we just keep bringing in lifestyle medicine as a possible therapeutic approach, and also as a preventive approach in terms of preventing diabetes and dementia and heart disease and things down the road decades from now.
Yeah, and as the patient, some folks, want to work slowly, and they work with Bandana, Dr. Chawla. So some folks, let's say they have diabetes and they say, okay, I really don't want to be on these medications any longer. That's when she'll refer them to me. And I think your viewers can see where Bandana is sitting, and there's a painting on, above her head. And it has, yeah, they can see it. It says, okay, eat right, be fit, stress less, and connect more. And this is certainly not original, but this just sort of stresses, what are we trying to get them to do? Eat right, we're trying to get them to eat a whole foods, plant-based diet. Physical activity is just so important when we're working with chronic diseases. So that's got to be part of their journey. And then there's a young girl meditating. So that's an invitation for them to bring in some healthy stress management tools, whether that's a walk in the park or doing meditation or yoga, whatever works for them. And then, the last part is connection. We provide a healthy community. And Dr. B is actually sitting in the lifestyle medicine consult room right now. So when folks are working with me, I always kind of say, okay, this is what we're going to be working on. So they can get sort of the introduction to lifestyle medicine and primary care with Dr. Bandana Chawla, but if they want to go completely into it, really want to reverse their diseases, get rid of their medications, then we have, intensive program for them. And those are the main facets of that.
Great. There's a question if feedback. Is that me? There's a question if you're like the events that you do, are they open to non-patients? The walk with the doc, the dine with the doc?
Yes, everything is open to public. You don't have to be our patients to come to the events. And also, since the pandemic, many of the things are hybrid, to where meditation is in clinic and also on Zoom. Walk with the doc is at the park, and also one of us is walking with our phone, because there are people joining in online for the walk as well, because we're always also talking about a health topic and answering questions. So the Zoom link is actually right on our website. You can go to our website, go to events page, and the Zoom link to attend meditation is right there, or walk with the dog there. Now, potluck we don't do over Zoom because you got to eat. But we have patients joining us from, or individuals joining us from out of state as well on Zoom for the event. So I invite any of your viewers to join us for any of the events.
That's
The one thing that is not available to the general public is the group support session, which we do exclusively for lifestyle members. But really anything that's listed on our website, as she mentioned, is available, and the link is right there. They just need to click on the link, register, and they can join us. Excellent.
There's a nice comment from Myrna. Thanks to you guys, I lost 50 pounds and I love the whole food plant-based diet.
Thanks, Myrna.
Yeah. So there's another question. Please address postmenopausal weight.
Okay. Yeah. So this is, whether it's premenopausal or postmenopausal weight, you need a strategy. Okay. You need to kind of stick with a plan, and it's going to be a process. So this is, one of the questions I have them fill out, do you want quick weight loss or do you want sustained weight loss? Because those two are often, can be contradictory. So once you're really interested in losing weight, let's say at a postmenopausal state, we need to work on all facets. First, diet is foundational. Let's see what your diet is, and, make a food diary. And then we can see, what are the opportunities that we have where we can slowly tweak the diet. And, the basic message is getting as much whole plant foods into your diet as possible, and really reducing and, ideally eliminating animal products and processed foods. Okay. And then step number 2, also making that whole plant foods diet really low fat. And so, things like avocado, nuts and seeds, this is, trips up a lot of my patients. They say, I'm doing whole plant foods, but the weight's not coming off. I said, okay, let's, make a food diary. And, they say, oh, I'm not eating any nuts. And then we talk about the salad dressing they're using. They're using a cashew-based salad dressing. And, they're eating a lot of salad, which is wonderful. And all these are healthy foods. But when you are stuck and weight's not budging, then we have to look at, okay, where is there opportunity? So the typical opportunities are going to be nuts and seeds and avocados. So really, these need to be kind of dialed down. And, it's really what you're after. If you remove the avocado and you're having good result and you want to keep a little bit of nuts and seeds, that's great. But if it's not working, then we need to kind of keep progressing along this thing. And as I mentioned, we really encourage folks to bring some sort of physical activity into their daily life, and also healthy ways of managing stress. When your stress is higher, when you're not getting a good night's sleep, your sympathetic drive, your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis is producing more stress hormones, producing more cortisol. And that's going to, make you gain more weight. So we've got to optimize the hormones. So, with the diet, with the activity, finding healthy ways to manage stress. And then, people are saying, okay, you're adding a lot of things to my day, and this is difficult. And this is why we say, okay, you need to be in a community. So when you have, the healthy community that Chef AJ has, or healthy community in whichever town you're in, just find other folks that are moving this way, eating this way. They will give you a lot of support. But it really needs to be a program. You really need to be intentional. It's not something you can do it, just on the side, so to speak.
Right. Yeah. People get really tripped up with that low fat piece. I recently posted my meal, which hasn't changed in 10 years, Hannah yams or Hannah sweet potatoes and broccoli. And people are like, well, how are you going to get the essential fat that your brain needs? And I think my brain is okay. And you really haven't eaten any overt fat for over 10 years. And my brain seems to work.
Yeah. And, if that's one of the concerns that, folks are concerned about, the omega-3 fatty acids, one of the things you can do is do a supplement. And my wife and I do, I guess I shouldn't mention any brands, but do a vegan supplement.
Algae-based. You can just say algae-based omega-3 supplement.
Yeah. And, we take that every day. And the good thing is now you can check, You can check your vitamin D level. You can check your omega-3 level. So if your doctor, hasn't checked that, ask them that I want this to be checked. I'm changing my diet. I want to make sure I have, all the nutrients and things that the research shows are good for me. I want to be, replete in these nutrients. So these days it's really easy to check, and I really encourage folks to do that.
Excellent. We keep getting lots of fatty liver questions today because you brought it up. So the next one from Susanna is the only way to diagnose fatty liver through an ultrasound? Or if you're overweight, should you just assume you have fatty liver?
I would say blood work and ultrasound. Yes. So blood work will give you a lot of clues too. If your liver tests are normal, you probably don't need to go to ultrasound, but if your liver tests are elevated. Since we're talking about fatty liver, another thing I'd like to mention that I recently have been talking to my patients about, they've been looking for a pill for fatty liver and have not been successful in over a decade. So, even for diabetes, I can give them a pill. A high cholesterol, I can give them a pill. High blood pressure, I can give them a pill. But for fatty liver, I tell them, I can't give you a pill. Changing your diet is the only way to reverse it. And Munish, do you remember the numbers? They expect that by 2030 or 2040, fatty liver will be the number one reason that people will need liver transplant instead of alcoholic cirrhosis or hepatitis.
Yeah, I know the study that you're talking about. I'm forgetting the exact numbers. So yeah, this is really an epidemic in our society. And most patients who are obese are going to have fatty infiltration of liver. And the blood tests, as Dr. V mentioned, are really good and sensitive to pick that up fairly early. And this is a major problem. Fatty liver for a while is reversible, but like anything else, if it progresses and there's fibrosis in the liver, that can turn into cirrhosis. And then your liver starts failing. And then you have a whole host of other medical problems. So in the beginning, for a while, you diagnose fatty liver and you change your diet, you can totally reverse it.
That's fantastic. There's a question from Kathy. Is there a point of no return for somebody with fatty liver disease?
Yeah, absolutely. When the liver becomes, first you get fatty infiltration, and part of that is inflammation in the liver. So whenever there's inflammation in the body is trying to repair the damage. And if you can repair the damage, then everything kind of goes back to normal. But if the inflammation just continues, we keep eating the unhealthy diet, then the inflammation becomes chronic. And then chronic inflammation, think of sort of a scab that develops over a wound. Now you've got these micro scabs developing all over the liver. So basically there's fibrosis in different parts of the liver. And when you get fibrosis, and you can see that on ultrasound especially, then really, it's at the point of no return. And even I would say early cirrhosis, which is the fancy term for fibrosis of the liver, you can still do a lot of good. So the human body is very forgiving. I mean, we can eat unhealthy for 30, 40, 50 years, and we change our diet, and within, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, few months, we start to see the benefits. But yes, once it goes into cirrhosis, where the liver is just more fibrosis than actual liver tissue, then it's too late. And that's when people get portal hypertension, they get bleeds, they get mental status changes, liver failure, all these awful things that we don't want to happen.
Jaundice.
Jaundice, yes, thank you.
Terrific. Kathy says it's wonderful what you're doing, and she wondered if you could teach other lifestyle docs or other doctors how to do this, because she'd like to have what you're doing in her city.
That's part of our mission, is to really kind of get lifestyle medicine to communities, not just to our own patients, but out there. So one of the things that Munish and I are both clinical faculty at the new medical school. University of Houston has a new medical school. And so we approach them, and so I have students that come through the clinic. I have medical students who come through, nurse practitioner students who come through. Munish has prepared 6 lectures for the medical students. We just gave them an exercise lecture last month. In June, we're about to give them lecture on stress management, and nutrition. So basically all 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine, because it's really frustrating that other physicians are not taught about this. And the medical field is so unaware of this. So part of our goal is to kind of educate our colleagues and definitely the next generation of health professionals.
Nice. Excellent. Thank you. Questions back on the fat. This is like the fatty liver eating fat episode of Chef AJ Live. That's okay. We never know how it's going to go. What about the quantities and portions on low fat whole foods? See, I eat whatever I want. I mean, of the right food, I don't worry about weighing or measuring, or if I have 1 potato or 2 potato, it doesn't seem to matter as long as I'm eating low fat.
That's exactly right. So if you're eating the right foods, and if you're eating lots of fruits, vegetables, beans, whole grains, really you don't have to worry about portion size. And eat till you're satiated. When we eat this way, it helps our gut bacteria. And we're learning more and more that our microbiome, or the gut bacteria, are intimately related, with what our weight should be, what our cholesterol level should be. So they are intimately involved in our health and well-being. So when you're eating the right foods with lots of fiber, we have a really healthy gut bacteria population. And one of the ways it's postulated that a whole plant foods diet works so well, as opposed to just calorie counting and limiting the amount of foods, one that's just not sustainable long-term. But the way when you're feeding the body healthy plant foods, giving lots of fiber, you're also feeding the bacteria in your gut. And these bacteria produce these wonderful chemicals. Some of them are short chain fatty acids, and they work at the gut-brain axis. They are, changing PYY and all these peptides that communicate with our central nervous system, that are resetting our need, our cravings, our desire, our satiation mechanisms. So naturally, when you eat healthy food and you're feeding the healthy bacteria, it's changing the neurochemistry, and you're ultimately, you eat the right amounts. You're not overeating. So there's just so many ways a whole foods plant-based diet is helpful for you. This is another way, and this is something I've learned from listening to Chef AJ and Roseanne Oliveira. Hopefully I'm saying her name right. I mean, she does a wonderful lecture on how this, interacts with all the different peptides that lead to resetting of the gut-brain axis. So when you eat the right foods, you don't have to worry about calorie counting or portion control.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's see. What else you say? Oh, people are asking how you got off your thyroid medicine specifically.
So with Munish, he has people do various things customized to them. And some of his patients do water fasting, which is something that I couldn't do. So he kind of made up something that I could do. I remember doing a whole week of detox, to where I did like fruits and vegetables only, first cooked and then raw, and then a day of water fasting, then again raw, and then cooked fruits and vegetables. And then there are some yoga poses he looked up, like shoulder stand and stuff, where the thyroid is stimulated. It's supposed to be good. And then he had me become strictly whole food plant-based, to where sometimes, we have 2 kids, and sometimes when they would make vegan cookies or something, I would taste some, and I wasn't as strict as him in terms of whole food plant-based. He made me get really strict. And then just bringing the whole aspect of lifestyle medicine during those 3 months that I did his program, to where getting enough sleep and doing my meditation every day. And, of course, I never smoked, but no alcohol, or it's just anything else that you had me do. I know you looked up Michael Greger says, what is that? The black cumin is supposed to be good. And so I added that to my diet.
Yeah.
Just things like that.
Right. And also breathing exercises. We did some breathing exercises also.
Yeah.
And the key is, in terms of the diet piece, you are really trying to decrease the inflammation as much as possible. So, all these healthy lifestyle things will decrease the inflammation, but, you've got to just get off of oil and sugar and just really make the diet as anti-inflammatory as possible. And that's the idea of, doing a little bit of juice fasting, raw, all these things are really dialing down the inflammation in the body. And because, ultimately, and I don't want to lump all the folks that have low thyroid or hypothyroid in one category, but the most common would be an autoimmune disease like Hashimoto's, and that's what leads to, hypothyroidism. So with that, that's an immune mediated thing. And it's not like, it's like one time you have it and then you have it all the time. So your body is constantly producing these antibodies that are injuring the thyroid cells. So if you can stop that mechanism and you still have some normal thyroid tissue left, if you stop the damage by really cutting down the inflammation, in some folks, you can actually get them euthyroid, or getting them off the medication, and they don't have hypothyroidism anymore. Same sort of corollary, once there is long-standing damage and the thyroid has become fibrotic, same thing that happens in the liver with long-term fatty infiltration, you get cirrhosis. So once there's fibrosis in the thyroid gland, then sort of it's point of no return. But, it never hurts to try it. Only thing you're going to do is sleep better, lose weight, have a clearer, head, just enjoy life. So, I don't think there's any harm in trying, even if you're not able to completely reverse your hypothyroidism.
Thank you. Susan says, I've heard Synthroid promotes bone loss. I have 2 broken bones, first in my life since taking that. Is that true?
I was not aware. Are you? I will look up link between.
But anytime you're doing anything sort of synthetic that's you're taking into the body, there's always going to be side effects. I wasn't aware that specifically affects bone loss, but ultimately we want the body to heal itself. And the body is amazing at healing itself. We just need to provide the right context, the right food, and the right lifestyles. So, whether it's to prevent bone loss or to, lose weight or just feel better. This is the message that Chef AJ advocates. This is our message to really, do whole plant foods.
Yeah. What is the Peaceful Planet Foundation that you co-founded?
Okay, so as Dr. B was mentioning that, we want to spread this message not to just to our patients, not to even the medical community, but we want to reach every part of Houston. So about 4 years ago, just the universe aligned some things that we were able to open this foundation. And the goal of this foundation is to provide healthy tools for folks who may not have access to these healthy tools. So we work in underserved areas of Houston and basically introduce them to plant foods, just getting them to increase their plant foods. So healthy foods for the body. And the other thing we do is healthy tools for the mind. So we teach them about yoga, about meditation. We have yoga teachers that go into schools that give, yoga sessions and breathing exercises to the teachers, so they're in a better position to handle the kids. And then we have programs for the kids. We call it the 5M program. And I always forget the 5M, but I know Dr. B, let me let Dr. B tell you about the 5M program for the kids.
Yeah, so we actually have a curriculum that was made by someone who's both a yoga teacher and a HISD, Houston Independent School District teacher. So the 5M includes, and it's a different kind every session, but every session there will be mindful breathing of some kind, mindful movement. We wouldn't call it yoga. Schools don't want us to call it that. Mindful stillness, we wouldn't call it meditation. Mindful eating, we would provide a plant-based snack, and then mindful reflections, to where there'd be a little talk about nutrition or exercise, or usually it's all themed. Every session is themed. Yeah, so mindful breathing, mindful movement, mindful stillness,
And I think Dr. B froze up for just a second. So, mindful breathing, mindful movement, mindful stillness, mindful eating, and mindful reflection. So we really try to make a holistic program. And this is, conducted by a yoga teacher. And she does this, over an hour as an after-school program. So those are some of the ways Peaceful Planet goes out in the community, especially underserved communities, because this is the first time that folks have access to this or have learned about this. But we are really getting pleasantly surprised that most people have heard about yoga and meditation. I think I'm going to need to text Dr. B to kind of log back in.
Oh, you think she's still frozen, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
She disappeared. Hopefully she'll come back. Well, that's what's nice about having two doctors. If you lose one, you got another.
Right. And that's, just the schedule worked out this way that I'm actually at home today. I didn't have to go into the clinic. I didn't have any morning patients. So I'm at home and she's at the clinic. So hopefully she'll be able to come back soon.
She'll join us. In the meantime, I'll just read you a nice comment by Lisa. I'm so happy to see two of my favorite docs on your show. I've worked with these docs many times. Jay says, if I have reactive hypoglycemia, can I go whole food plant-based? Last time I tried, I became incredibly exhausted from all the carbs. Carbs are what give me energy. They don't exhaust me. They give me energy.
Right. So this is one of the take-home messages is when you're used to eating one way, all the body's machinery, the liver, the pancreas, the enzymes, and the hormones are optimized for the food that you've been eating. And if you make too drastic a change for a time period, you may actually have low energy. But Chef AJ is 100% right. Over time, when your body adapts, you kind of get all the liver enzymes, pancreas enzymes, hormones, everything working well, then you are going to have more energy. So yes, when you're eating processed foods and you're eating things that are high in sugar, your body has to quickly raise the insulin. And this is not a perfect science. Oftentimes, if you raise the insulin a little too much, then the sugar goes down. So you get reactive hypoglycemia. And the antidote for that is a whole plant foods diet. And the way that works is when you have fiber, your sugar never goes up very quickly. So the body doesn't need to produce a lot of insulin. And in that way, you don't get reactive hypoglycemia. But like with anything else, this is a journey. We want to kind of optimize and slowly bring in these healthy changes, healthy dietary changes into your life. And, this is something you don't have to take our words for. Just about, I think anybody on Chef AJ will tell you that they don't get cravings, they don't get hypoglycemia when they're eating a whole foods plant-based diet, but it needs to be transitioned sort of in an appropriate way.
Thank you. And here's a question from Gail. I've been trying for several years to give up almond butter and peanut butter. Any suggestions for persistent food addictions?
Yes. So watch more of Chef AJ. That would be the first thing. So this is something, I have learned more from Chef AJ than anybody else, that like there are actual foods that really are addicting. Our brain looks similar to someone who is doing cocaine, someone who's addicted to sugar or fat or really high calorie foods. And it's a journey, it's a process. So really just kind of working, with someone, if you're having trouble yourself would be very helpful. Finding a supportive community would be helpful, and then making the changes slow.
Great, thank you. Oh,
All
I think
right.
she's coming back. She's coming back. Yay.
Okay, good.
Good. Well, thank you for holding down the fort. Here's a question from Joan. At what cholesterol level would you prescribe statins for someone who has been on a whole food plant-based diet for several yeyears?
Okay, this is a perfect question for Dr. Bandana Chawla. Can you hear us yet?
I think she's just logging on, so we can ask that again when she comes back up. She's here. Yeah, thank you.
I don't know what happened. I'm so sorry.
I'm so glad you came back, because your husband said this question is perfect for you, from Joan. At what cholesterol level would you prescribe statins for someone who has been on a whole food plant-based diet for several years?
Okay, so American College of Cardiology has very specific instructions on, according to them, when it should be prescribed. So one is if the LDL is greater than 190, then statin should be prescribed. For everything else, there is actually a risk calculator that you can do at American Heart Association's website, American College of Cardiology website, to calculate your score. So in that, I can put in, or you can yourself put in, it'll ask you your gender, your whether you have diabetes, whether you have high blood pressure. Actually, you can put in your blood pressure numbers, you can put in your cholesterol numbers, and then it will tell you what your risk is of getting heart disease in the next 10 years and what your risk is over your lifetime. So if that risk is over 7.5%, then we're supposed to start you on statin. Now, having said all that, which by the way, people are getting started on statins even when they don't meet these requirements. So even the requirements that by American College of Cardiology, if you follow them, a lot of the people don't need to be on statins, but people are just doing, if your cholesterol is over 200, the doctors are starting them on statins when they don't need to. But having said all that, even with those numbers being like that, then there's all sorts of other things to keep into account. In the sense, what the family history is, and Dr. Esselstyn talks about even if your cholesterol is high, if you're on a whole food plant-based diet, you're less likely to damage your endothelium. And endothelial damage is what causes plaque buildup. I also do what's called an advanced lipid panel, which is a test with Quest that you can do. And this advanced lipid panel, besides giving you the usual cholesterol, LDL, HDL, triglycerides, the ratio, it also gives you the quality of LDL and quality of HDL. So if the LDL is big and bouncy and buoyant, then it's just going to go through your bloodstream without any problems. But if the LDL is small and it's sticky, then anytime there is a little endothelial damage, it can kind of get underneath and start causing plaque formation. So maybe having that information is also valuable. Another thing that the advanced lipid panel will check is your heart inflammation markers. So it'll check high sensitive CRP, which is a cardioselective inflammation marker, and another inflammation marker called LPPLA2. And then it also checks some of the genetic things for heart disease, like apolipoprotein B and lipoprotein A. So the advanced lipid panel, and it's being covered by insurance as long as you haven't had another lipid panel in the last 90 days. That's the only time that my patient ended up getting a big bill because they didn't tell me that their cardiologist had just done a regular lipid panel. And then when I ordered an advanced lipid panel, they got a bill. But otherwise, as long as you don't sooner than 90 days, it's been covered, gives a lot more information.
Great. Thank you so much. This question actually has been asked on the show before when I had Dr. Sunil Pai, but it's a good one. So I'll ask it again from Kathy. What's the difference between a lifestyle medicine doctor, an integrative medicine doctor, a naturopath, and a holistic doctor?
Okay, I can start on that. So lifestyle medicine physicians, one thing I always want to emphasize that it's an evidence-based specialty. So we're using lifestyle as a therapeutic tool. Just like if you have diabetes, you use medications as a therapeutic tool, we're using lifestyle as a therapeutic tool. So integrative medicine certainly includes a lot of lifestyle medicine, but oftentimes they will include other things that are not necessarily evidence-based. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with that, but just to differentiate us from integrative medicines. But they're also looking at the holistic part. They're looking at everything, mind and body. So that part is common with lifestyle medicine. And I think the last thing you said was functional medicine. Is that right, Chef AJ?
Holistic.
Holistic medicine. Okay, so one of the things, for holistic medicine is going to be sometimes they're not going to do a lot of evidence-based stuff. So anything we recommend our patients, if we tell them eat this way, not that way, there is a lot of research that is, backed by folks like Dean Ornish and, Caldwell Esselstyn and a whole host of other researchers, which shows that if you eat this way or change your diet and lifestyle this way, this is going to be the result. So some of these other specialties, they are not so evidence-based. That's one of the things. And functional medicine, they rely a lot on supplements. And, if you are deficient in a supplement, let's say with like vitamin D, then certainly we need to replace that. But we are not yet at the point of personalized medicine that we can figure out what micronutrients our body needs. So functional medicine does not do a good job of addressing the whole patient. It's not so holistic. They're basically replacing medications with supplements. And what lifestyle medicine is trying to do is using the body as the ultimate healer. We're just providing the right context, the right environment, healthy food for the body, healthy food for the mind, physical activity, so the body can heal itself. And I'll let Dr. B, mention other things.
No, that was great.
Anything that I missed, Chef AJ?
That was wonderful. I think that's great. But with lifestyle medicine, there's an actual board certification.
Mhm.
Yes, thank you. Yes, there is an actual board certification. And, more and more folks are getting board certified in lifestyle medicine. When we took the boards, they were like,
In 2018.
2018, and they were like, 230 physicians taking the board exams. And in their latest ones, they had over 1,000 physicians taking the board exams. So the specialty is spreading, and we're so happy about that.
Great. What are the cons of taking statins?
So short-term muscle aches and pains for a lot of people, myalgias. Liver functions we're supposed to check back on the liver test because it can cause those to go up and affect the liver for a lot of people. Long-term, it increases risk for dementia and diabetes. Am I forgetting a few? Those are the most common.
I think those are the main ones. And this is something, this is really, when we go into the doctor's office, and we're not saying that every physician has to be certified in lifestyle medicine, but, we should all give the patient a choice. You can take this pill, and yes, it will help your heart disease, but it comes at a cost. So these are the risks that you take on when you're taking these pills, especially if they're higher doses and there's long-term treatment. So, those are the, most common and most side effects that we're most concerned about. So I'm really glad whoever asked that question, that, when you use diet and lifestyle as a therapeutic tool, the only side effects are good one. You lose weight, you look younger, you have more energy, and you reduce your risk for diabetes, reduce your risk for dementia. But when you're using pills to, take care of, let's say, high cholesterol, it does come at a cost. So very, very good question.
Great. Thank you. If people want to make an appointment, either virtually or in person, just send them to your website.
Yes, but they do have to be in Texas.
Oh, only Texas for both.
Only
Okay. Okay. Oh, good to know. Good to know. All right. I'm glad you clarified that. And let's see. Oh, here's a question from Linda. Is Graves' disease reversible with proper nutrition or a whole food plant-based diet?
Okay, that's something I had researched a while back, and I cannot. So all the evidence that I've found that it is not reversible. So it is also an autoimmune disease. And, I haven't checked in a couple of years, but I was kind of really working with my wife. I wanted to kind of do a literature search. I looked up hypothyroidism, looked up Graves' disease, which is the thyroid is producing too much hormone. So as far as I'm aware, it is not. But just as a caveat, I haven't reviewed the literature in a couple of years. So, but to my knowledge, no.
Great, thank you. And Dina says that her algae supplement is in oil. Is it okay to take oil when you're taking an algae supplement?
Right,
Yes,
absolutely.
but I would recommend putting it in the refrigerator. I've had some issues with patients who were taking, but their omega-3 levels weren't going up when we were rechecking the blood work. And what we found out is they weren't refrigerating it, and that makes a difference. And, just like any other oil, it can go rancid. So you really do want to put all fats. And I learned this from Brenda Davis in terms of even keeping your walnuts and almonds and foods with high amounts of fat in the refrigerator.
Right. But it's okay to have oil if it's in a supplement, because I know in general we say no oil.
Yes, yes. And you've heard this from Baxter Montgomery, if you're going to have oil, you want to have it without cooking it, because put a little bit on your salad, but don't cook with oil, because when you heat it, that's where a lot of the toxic, of course, calorie density and other things, but other issues with oil happen when at high heat. So you definitely don't want
the oil gets, the fats get oxidized, and oxidized fats are much more damaging to every part of the body than non-oxidized fats.
Absolutely. Here's a question. What is the lifestyle medicine approach to cancer?
So this is, something that is slowly, and if you want to look up specifically cancer and lymphoma, I would direct you to True North. So they have done wonderful, wonderful studies, and I guess I shouldn't say studies, but they have a lot of case reports where they use water-only fasting as a therapeutic tool and they have documented cases. The person had lymphoma. I think they have 2 now, and probably Chef AJ knows more about what's going on at True North than I do. But in any case, they have documented regression of the lymphoma. But you can't stay on water fasting, all your life. You've got to bring in real food. And this is the advice from True North. After the water fasting, they put people on a low-fat, whole plant foods diet. So, in addition to just kind of talking about reversal of cancer or reversal of lymphoma, anyone who has cancer, they are at a very high inflammatory state, okay? And when you lower the inflammation by eating the right foods, by getting the rest, by increasing some physical activity, it's going to drastically lower the inflammation in your body. And in fact, there are studies going on which are using these tools, and patients respond better to chemotherapy. They have more of an effective response, and they have less of the side effects. Chemotherapy makes you fatigued, and you get, GI upset and all sorts of other side effects. So those folks who are practicing lifestyle medicine, they have less of these side effects. So go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say also there's data on recurrence.
Yes.
And reducing your chance of recurrence if you're on a whole food plant-based diet and if you're practicing lifestyle medicine. A lot of that research I am aware of with breast cancer. I'm sure it's with other cancer as well, but with breast cancer, it's clear that when people do go to a low-fat plant-based diet, they are less likely to have recurrence. Also, BMI is really important in breast cancer. So if you gain the weight back and become obese again, and you're more likely to have recurrence. Whereas if you then become normal BMI after your breast cancer treatment, you're less likely to have recurrence of breast cancer. So in terms of prevention of recurrence, there's more robust data on that.
Great, thanks. Here's a fun question. How do you get a big bouncy LDL?
Oh, that is a good question. Manish, some of your patients, when we did advanced lipid panel beforehand and after, their LDL was like the quality was in the red and then it was in the green. So you tell me.
Right. So, basically it's not a secret. It's just lifestyle medicine and eating low fat, whole foods, plant-based diet. I know people are probably getting tired of hearing that.
I never get tired of it because I'm people are always fighting that. I mean, people agree with the plants, but the low fat thing, I'm telling you, it's really become a source of contention where the new guard wants to take over the old guard and says oil is good, and maybe it is good, like you say, for young, active people that don't have food addictions or disease or overweight. But for most of us, it hasn't proven to really be helpful.
Right, when 70% plus of the population is either overweight or obese, this is, we've got to try a different strategy. What we're currently doing is not working.
But LDL quality can be improved. You can make it go from small to bigger.
I just want mine big and bouncy. I don't know what that means, but I think it sounds terrific to have it big and bouncy. Kim, who's watching live, says, I eat whole food, plant-based, no oil. I have psoriatic arthritis and I'm now off my methotrexate. All oil is a huge trigger that causes flare-ups. Why does it do it? That just shows you how inflammatory it is, I bet.
Yeah, first of all, I want to congratulate her for,
Mhm.
doing a whole food plant-based diet. And there is psoriatic arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, numerous other autoimmune diseases. You can totally put them in remission. And one of the ways this works is, one, just inflammation. Okay, anything chronic disease, especially autoimmune disease, if you lower the inflammation, you're going to lower all the symptoms. You're going to lower all the, inflammatory markers, all these things that are aggravating the disease. The second way we think this works is by improving the gut microbiome, improving the gut microbiota. So these are the bacteria in our colon that are producing, we can do an anti-inflammatory diet, but that alone doesn't seem to be sufficient. You need to really get the gut bacteria healthy, have a healthier ecosystem. And then the question is, how do you get the gut bacteria healthy? And again, it's eating things with lots of fiber. So that's going to be whole plant foods. So when you're eating these things with lots of fiber, this is the food for the healthy bacteria in our gut. And when you feed the healthy bacteria in our gut, they produce short chain fatty acids and numerous other compounds that really interact with our immune system. And then all these autoimmune diseases, you can really put them in remission. And this is, more and more emerging data is coming out that if you have a person with autoimmune disease, almost always they have gut issues. They don't have a healthy gut. So in order to, get them healthy, you've got to work on the gut first. And we think that's where the interaction of the gut and the immune system and the overall disease process, that's where the leverage point is.
Right. That's true. Well, thank you. You guys are wonderful. I wish I could find a practice like yours here. I think many people would love to see that. That is so cool. There seems to be a lot of husband and wife doctors that are plant-based,
Yeah, you just recently had Melissa and her husband. They're such a cute couple.
and then with the Sher's eyes, that seems, but it's
Yes.
wonderful that you guys are doing this together and helping so many people in your practice and in your nonprofit. So thanks. It's just been a pleasure getting to know you.
A pleasure for us also. Thank you so much.
It was an honor to be here. Thank you, Chef AJ.
No, thank you guys. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow when we have a very inspiring story. A gentleman named Jonathan Fa, who lost over 200 pounds eating the way Doctors Chawla recommend, a whole food, plant-based, low-fat diet with a little bit of water fasting. You don't know him, but he did everything you said.
Awesome.
Yeah. Take care. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.